Hey Duck fans, Kurt here. Welcome to yet another FishDuck one-on-one video. Well, Tom Ward has been a staple for Oregon Ducks news coverage for some time now. A native Oregonian living the dream, getting paid to talk about Duck sports all day. Since 1998, he's been the face behind KVAL TV Eugene sports coverage and the sports director at the station since 2005. In addition to local TV news coverage, Tom also anchors the fantastic production Inside the Pack. Hey Tom, how you doing?
I'm good, Kurt. How are you?
Well, color me a little bit jealous because as someone who also got to grow up watching the Ducks, you figured out long before I did how to make a living out of watching the Ducks. So what's the backstory? How did you travel the path from being a fan to being a broadcaster?
Well, I don't know. It's pretty average, really. Grew up just south of Eugene, a little town called Drain, and would go to Autzen when there was 25,000 people there on any given day, and you could sit in the end zones and stretch out. And on the rare day where it was sunny, yeah, you could just have all the space you wanted. You could take your shirt off and get a tan, and it was fun. And then, of course, after high school, I actually went in the Army. I was in the Army for 3 years, and then got out of the Army, came back to Eugene, and started going to college and everything. And then probably the smartest thing I ever did was do an internship with KVAL when I was in college. If you remember Walt Fox,
yes.
He was there with Todd McKim and those guys, and so got to know those guys. And as you know, sometimes it's often the relationships that you build with people, and that certainly proved true with Walt and Todd.
So right place, right time. Somehow you stuck with an internship and you never left.
Yeah, well, I did. Once I got done with college, I couldn't really find a job in TV that suited me, and so I got out of TV for a little while. Not that I was even in it at that point, but then just kind of sort of waited for my spot. I worked at another station here in town, and sort of bided my time. And then one day Todd called, and that was it.
What I love about KVL's coverage is you put a lot of stuff up on YouTube. For out-of-state fans like me, I get to catch all of the content that you guys do, even though I'm not regional to be able to watch the station.
Yeah, well, that's I have 3 other guys that work very hard on the website and on distributing content, and so it's a 4-person team. We're the largest sports staff in the state, if not the Northwest, but they all work very hard getting that stuff, acquiring it, and putting it online. And so yeah, it's really a team effort, so I can't take all the credit for those kinds of things.
Some though, some credit.
Yeah, well, I'm part of directing it. That's why I'm the sports director. But yeah, it's the good thing is too, I've got 3 guys who really enjoy it as much as I do. Maybe sometimes maybe they enjoy it more, I don't know, but yeah, they really get after it. And Nick Krupke does a great job kind of funneling everything into KVAL.com and sort of driving that. So yeah, it's like I said, it's a team effort.
Terrific. Well, how about when you're covering games on site or you're doing interviews talking with guys, especially since on Inside the Pack, you have a lot of former players that come on the show. Now, I interview and talk to a lot of former players as well as a lifetime fan. And of course, on the outside, trying to be cool about it. But on the inside, I'm still that 8-year-old kid that ran on the field freaking out, going, wow, I'm actually talking to Kenny Wheaton or Kristen McLemore. How cool is this? They actually know me? Do you still have those moments from time to time, seeing the guys that you used to watch and now you get to work with them?
That's funny. I don't, probably not as much as you. And the other thing is, like, Danny O'Neill married my wife and I, when he was a pastor here in Eugene. So he was the minister at our service. And so it's just, I don't know. I mean, and I talk to Kristen McLemore weekly. I mean, if not a couple times, 3 times a week. Just kind of, he's interested in getting into TV, and he's done a lot of stuff with us on Inside the Pack and KVAL News as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's just, I think the coolest part for me is that to see these guys that went through their journey in college, and some of them went a little bit into the NFL or quite a bit in the NFL. To see them now, they want to come back to Eugene. They want to be close to this. They want to see the program succeed, and they also want to enjoy Eugene for the place that it is, which is, it's still, there's a lot of things have changed here the last 20 years, but it's still a really good place to live, quality of life wise.
Well, Inside the Pack is a very cool show. You know, I unfortunately don't get to watch it on TV because, you know, I don't live in Oregon, but I always check out the show online, and I think it's fantastic. I love how you always bring in former players to help you break things down, and you have a pretty cool format with it. But for those who have not seen Inside the Pack, break down a little bit of, you know, what the show's all about and where and when they can check it out.
Well, it's always online at InsideThePack.com, so you can go there anytime. We post the newest editions on there. You know, it started in 2000. We used to be the Oregon Sports Network station, and after we no longer had that contract, we decided to do something a little bit different. So we came up with this format, and you know, it's come a long way in the now going into its 14th season that's been on. And you know, having the former players on, I think, just really adds like a, you know, obviously an important element because they can speak to it like myself or the other people on the show cannot. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and having them come in weekly, you have one guy one week and another guy the next week. You know, they joke about who looks fatter on TV. You know, they you know, amongst themselves, and you know, it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's when I sit down in that chair each week. Sunday we tape the show usually around 1:30 or 2. Sometimes we do it live based on, you know, the needs of when we need to get it on the air or when games have been going. But for the most part, we tape it as live on Sunday afternoons. When I sit down there in that chair, I mean, all the work is now done. Okay, you've gone through all the video, you've gone through all the information, you've written the scripts, the show's produced, you're sitting in the chair, the lights are on, the cameras are ready, and that's when the fun starts.
Any particular funny moments kind of stand out, or oh crap moments, or the infamous boom goes the dynamite kind of time?
You know, there's been a couple over the years. I remember at the '99 Sun Bowl, we get there and we have this satellite truck rented, and allegedly it's like a production truck. It's for everything. So it's gonna do the fonts, it's gonna roll the tapes, it's gonna do all this stuff. Well, let's just suffice it to say it wasn't equipped for any of that. We've got a 1-hour show to do. Furthermore, we get there and we're under the assumption that somebody, whoever it may be, is providing us a technical director, somebody to push all the buttons and run the show. Well, we get there and we have none of that. So yours truly ended up directing and switching the show. You know, when I say switching the show, I mean pushing the buttons to make the different things go. Right. And you know, we made it through. Let's just say that. But that was one of those one hour time periods of your life that you wish you could just sort of block out and forget. And it was pre-game. It was when Oregon was taking on Minnesota. Of course, they won on the last second pass from Joey Harrington to Keenan Howery. And it, you know, it sort of once the game got there, it was like, oh, thank goodness, because that's over. You know. So anyway, yeah, it's been a lot of those types of things. We were at the '98 Aloha Bowl in Honolulu, and we are using the Hawaii station satellite truck, and they say, meet us here, no problem. So we go over there. Well, I guess there's no easy way to put it. They were going live from the scene of a middle school where a little kid had gotten hit by a car and got killed. So you're there and you're trying to do the sports stuff, and there's all this other things going on in the background, and it's just those are the kind of things that go on in TV news. I mean, it's just, you know, there's just no way. Sometimes there's no other explanation other than it's TV news.
Right, right. So with all of my interviews, I certainly have my own blooper reel. Is there some hidden Tom Ward blooper reel that will never see the light of day among the public?
I don't know. It's kind of out there every night. You know, I'd like to say that, you know, I don't make huge mistakes. I've probably made a couple, but none that jump off the top of my head here. But yeah, I mean, everybody makes mistakes, of course. But right. Yeah, I don't have. Fortunately, I'm not in the YouTube Hall of Fame right now. I'm gonna try to keep it that way.
Yeah, waiting for the day, unfortunately, when something goes viral.
Right, right, and it happens these days.
Unfortunately, a lot of the fans today, all they know is victories. They know Joey Harrington forward, even 1994 forward, just the good times. So do you sometimes have to maybe set people in their place, remind them, you know what, Oregon didn't always win 10 games a year?
Occasionally I do have that conversation. I would say it's more with people on the outside that maybe aren't Duck fans, but know what I do, or they're friends of mine, and we get to talking football.
Right.
Say, oh man, it must be awesome to cover Oregon football, and yeah, it is. But then we get into a little bit of a history lesson about the last 23 years or so,
right.
The last 17 years, the last 12 years, whatever it may be, whatever time period you want to look at, and what it was before, pre 1987, basically.
Right.
And so and then they were kind of like, oh wow, I didn't know. So because nobody did at that time, nobody really knew about Duck football except for Duck fans and
right.
a few other people in the Pac-10s.
I know you recently returned from an extensive road trip profiling all of the various Pac-12 schools, and that was built into part of your overall preview for the Pac-12 season. What was that experience like, getting a chance to kind of visit every campus, and is that part of what we can expect for KVAL's coverage for 2012?
Yeah, and we've actually just, yesterday was the last day of the daily previews. Like I did Colorado, that was the final one. So yeah, we've been having those for the last couple of weeks, and the road trip is great. I mean, we get the daily reports in on KVAL News, and then for the Inside the Pac preseason special,
right.
we have a North and a South Division previews where we visit each of the places. So that's online, obviously, and you can see that. The trip is a one-of-a-kind thing. I mean, nobody else does it. The SIDs around the conference all tell me that it's really cool that we do it. I think they appreciate that somebody's still doing something like that.
Right.
But it's all on the road. It's a complete road trip. So with the addition of Colorado and Utah, it has made the trip a little more intensive than it was, to say the least. So, I mean, you get those first 6 schools out of the way, like boom, boom in the Bay Area, and then boom, boom in LA. And then Arizona, there's a trip in the day down to Tucson, because we usually don't stay in Tucson. There's no need. You can just pop down from Phoenix and then go back. But then after that, the road tripping begins, because you've got to get from Phoenix to Boulder, which is basically about 11 hours on the road. And then from Boulder to Salt Lake is another... it's 7.5, 8, somewhere in there. So it's it's a healthy road trip. But yeah, we go to all the schools, and I've done it now. I think this year was my 10th road trip. We've been doing it for quite a while now, and seeing all the places is cool. We have various spots that we like to eat now. We know where they are, and you kind of get to know the lay of the land. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, from the perspective of a sports director, as well as doing local news coverage for the Eugene community, how difficult is it to squeeze in all the coverage that you want to do with each broadcast? Because during the news, there's only a finite time that you get to cover sports, and you always need to do your Ducks and your Beavers coverage, but then there's local high school sports and national news as well. That's got to be tough, finding a way to pack all of that into a finite time. How do you manage that?
Yeah, no question. It's probably the biggest challenge, other than sometimes logistically getting out and acquiring the different videos that we need. Last night, for example, we had high school football started. So we've got the Ducks preview, obviously, and then we're talking a little bit about Oregon State and them being disappointed about their game being postponed. And then you've got all this high school action, and then Stanford played San Jose State last night. So yeah, on an average night, I usually get 3.5 minutes at 11 o'clock. Last night I got 6. So I can't ask for more time when it's warranted. And last night I did. So yeah, we had 6 minutes of high school football and scores, a little bit of Ducks preview, a little bit of Beavers being disappointed about their postponement, San Jose State, and then on down the line. Even the Eugene Emeralds wrapped up their season last night and missed out on making the playoffs. So yeah, it's definitely, you got to juggle a few things. You got to keep tabs on a bunch of different games. Saturdays are crazy as well, and things like that. But yeah, it's definitely, once you get it all put together and you're out on the set, then you can just take a deep breath, because all you got to do now is do the show, and sometimes that's the easiest part.
There's obviously a lot taking place right now in sports, as you just mentioned. High school sports, the Emerald just wrapped up, and college football's here, and it's the 2012 season. There's a lot of interesting storylines to look at. Certainly all eyes have been on the quarterback battle all summer, and this offseason was filled with a lot of various storylines. Somehow Chip Kelly leaving for Tampa Bay turned into Chip Kelly's hot tub as storylines. And then people freaking out over rumors of Brian Bennett transferring and everything else. But what are you most intrigued about the 2012 Oregon Ducks football team?
Yeah, I think it's that the offense, if Chip Kelly can keep the offense rolling, in essence, reload, no more LaMichael, no more Darren Thomas,
right.
The receiving core is, turning into something different that, it's new faces. The defense, I think, looks really good. I mean, I expect them to have a great year, but yeah, I think it's the offense and seeing if Chip can keep this going, and prove that it's the system, because I think that's been the kind of the theory the whole time, is that, yeah, Oregon has good athletes, they recruit great players, but then they put them in a position to be able to succeed, and the system makes it easier for them. So we're going to see if that's the case. Now, are we really going to know much after 3 games? I'm not sure that we are, because of the opponents. But certainly it's going to give guys like Mariota and even Bennett, because we know he's going to play. I mean, you're going to see him in the second halves of these games, provided the wheels don't come off in some fashion in the first half. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for me is, can the offense keep it going? I mean, how are they going to implement DeAnthony again this year, now with even more touches and more people really keying on him now and knowing what he can do and what you've seen him do the last year? Personally, I think he's going to have an even better year than he had last year. But all those things are intriguing, and that's what makes it fun to watch.
Duck fans, be sure to watch KVAL TV for your local sports wrap-ups, and of course, Inside the Pack. It's a fantastic show. You do a tremendous job with that show. I absolutely love it. Keep up the fantastic work. Tom Ward, sports director at KVAL TV. Any final thoughts for the fans out there?
Well, thanks for the kind words, and no, I appreciate you having me on. And did you want my prediction for this game or for the season?
How about for the season?
Yeah, well, I think they're going to go undefeated at home. And that November 3rd game, I think we all know that's the one to circle. So they're going to get, I think they're going to get 2 cracks at USC. So let's just leave it at that.
Nicely done, Tom. Well, thank you for all of your great work. Tom Ward, sports director at KVAL TV. Go Ducks!